Oh, Temple of Doom. This is the single most batshit insane film Spielberg has ever made. Nothing else is on its level. I'm just kinda stunned that it even exists at all. It leaves no lasting impact on its franchise, and its events are never mentioned in any of the following films. Actually, I think Dial of Destiny briefly references it, but that's not a real Indiana Jones movie. Hell, it's barely a movie. Regardless, this weird little chapter in Indiana Jones' story exists as the most love it or hate it thing to come out of this entire franchise. Hell, maybe even Spielberg's entire filmography. He's made plenty of divisive films before, but this is that one, man. That one that you either adore or you fucking despise. Me personally, I think there's kind of equal amounts of things I adore and things I despise. Which means they balance each other out and make for a movie that I think is pretty okay. It's like teetering on the edge of good for me. But, man, some of the stuff in this movie is just not it. Obviously, it's racist. Like, I feel like even people who love this movie will concede that. It's blatantly obvious. We don't need to get into that. Let's talk about the other most glaring issue with the film. Everyone's favorite damsel, Willie Scott.
We're not sinking! We're crashing!
Holy fucking shit, she is the most annoying character in this entire franchise. And this is a franchise with... She literally only exists to be the love interest in this movie. She screams all the time, acts like a Karen, is never funny or likable, accomplishes nothing outside of being the only person available to disable the spike trap, and punching one dude in the minecart chase, and she has absolutely zero chemistry with Indy. Elsa had more chemistry with him, and that bitch was faking it. Here, I don't see a single reason these two have to be into each other, outside of them both being physically attractive, and the fact that this is a movie, so they gotta be a couple. If I had my way, they would have dished Willie in Shanghai. Indy in Short Round, that's all ya fucking needed. But instead, we have this dead weight dragging the movie down and adding nothing of value to it. I guess Spielberg and Lucas really wanted to give us the opposite of Marion, and it was good that they didn't just do the same thing again. But man, she needed something. Some sort of skill, some sort of reason to be here outside of comic relief. Marcus Brody was pretty much just comic relief in Last Crusade, but the difference is that he's actually funny and likable. Willie sucks and I hate her so much. Aside from that, the pacing in this movie is just kinda off. After the pretty good opening in Shanghai and the, quite frankly, fucking absurd and ridiculous raft escape sequence, seriously, they should all be dead. After that, the pacing is quite glacial and the film takes a while to really go anywhere. The entire middle sequence from Indy and friends finding the village, up until he and Short Round get trapped in the spike room, it's not particularly interesting. See, normally this would be the part of the movie where Indy starts gathering clues and investigating where this artifact could be, all the while building mystery and suspense around the thing he's looking for. With this movie, they need to go find the sacred stones, so they go to this one palace. Then they stumble upon the thuggy death cult underground, and oh look, there's the stones. Found them. There's no mystery or discovery to be had. And that's one of the strongest parts of the other Indiana Jones films. Spielberg and Lucas really wanted to go with something completely different than Raiders here. And I can respect its ambition of just carrying over the title character and making an entirely different kind of adventure film with him. But like, I can simultaneously respect the fact that this film is different, and also dislike it for being different. Because the other style of adventure he had in Raiders and Crusade is just way more compelling to me. Again, it's nice that this film exists, because it proves you can just take this character and stick him in any sort of adventure anytime, rather than just having him race against Nazis for a biblical artifact all the time. I do think the series has more value by having this movie in it, but it's nowhere close to the same level as Raiders or Crusade for me. Once the opening is over, it doesn't really find its footing again until about halfway through the movie. But with that said, obviously there's a lot of stuff I like about it. The second half is generally much better than the first. Once we've gotten past the racist, unfunny dinner scene, the disappointment that stems from a lack of discovery and archaeology, and about 80% of the unfunny Willie antics that the movie is kind of front-loaded with, we're left with a fucking descent into hell. Spielberg pulls out all the stops with the intensity and the frightening imagery here. Nothing quite tops the climax of Raiders in my opinion in terms of its terror, and yet there's just a lot more volume here. So much more more horrific shit being thrown in your face that it's kind of insane. And with that heightened terror comes some of the best action to come out of the whole series. I love the minecart chase, the battle with the big guy in front of the steamroller, and that killer ending on the bridge. For all its shortcomings, the second half of the movie delivers on the quintessential, iconic Indiana Jones moments we all know and love. John Williams delivers what might be his best Indiana Jones score to date, heightening every action bit and horrific image with his killer music. I also love this scene, like it's so unnecessary but so funny. But none of these are my favorite aspect of the movie. The one thing that keeps me invested in the movie's first half and enhances the dramatic tension of the second half is Short Round. I absolutely love this kid. Hell, he might be my favorite sidekick Indy has ever had across the entire series. You know how I said the last shot of Crystal Skull proves that there's only one Indiana Jones? Well, I lied. If there's any character in this series who would make a worthy heir to the mantle, it's Short Round. Hell, he actually gets to wear the hat in one scene in this movie, so that's proof right there. In addition to being this super energetic and funny bright spot in a movie suffering from the charisma vacuum that is Willie, Short Round is also damn capable. Hell, if he didn't break out of his chains, which looked way too easy to do, but let's not worry about that. If he didn't break free and set Indy on fire, they all would have been screwed. He legitimately saved the day. And he did so again when he started punching the Maharaja to get the voodoo doll back that was causing Indy pain so he could fight the big guy. This is a weird movie. I like the scene where they're playing cards together and both cheating. I like the emotional moments they have together. And nothing with Short Round is cooler to me than the moment where, after he wakes Indy up from the evil juice by setting him on fire, Indy tells him, "I'm alright, kid." And then the two of them just start fighting the thuggies together. That moment really got to me. Like, it just feels right. He is the true heir apparent to the fedora. And this series really dropped the ball by never bringing him back at any point. Hell, everyone was so sure they were gonna do it in Dial of Destiny, considering Ke Huy Quan is bigger than ever now. But nope. Unlike Willie, this is a character I'm so upset that we never saw again. Especially since Willie's existence kind of robs Indy and Short Round's relationship of being the central focus of the film. It's already the most compelling relationship in the movie, but it could have been so much more if they really focused on him mentoring this kid. Instead of the extremely fucking cringe scene where he and Willie are in their bedrooms and thinking about visiting each other, and god, it is so hard to like this movie. There are so many elements I really love and consider to be among the best in any Indiana Jones film. But on the other hand, it lacks a lot of heart. It lacks intrigue. It lacks momentum. And the raft scene is dumber than the fridge from Crystal Skull, sorry not sorry. Back when the Indiana Jones series was merely a trilogy, this was the pretty obvious black sheep of the family, even to Spielberg. While promoting Last Crusade, Spielberg went on record saying, "I wasn't too happy with Temple of Doom at all. It was too dark, too subterranean, and much too horrific. I thought it out-poltered Poltergeist. There's not an ounce of my own personal feeling in Temple of Doom." George Lucas personally blamed the darkness of the story on the divorce he was going through while writing it. But I don't know if the story being dark was really the problem. I like the dark elements. I like how it was so intense that it literally invented the PG-13 rating, since too many parents complained that it wasn't suitable for PG audiences. I just wish there was a little more substance to it. The Indiana Jones movies are kinda big action flicks, but they're not big, dumb action flicks. They're pulpy and campy, like the adventure serials Spielberg and Lucas grew up with and based them on. But they nonetheless tell intriguing stories about epic quests to uncover historical artifacts, as well as showcasing the hubris of those who would misuse their power. A lot of thought goes into these movies, but that just doesn't come across with Temple of Doom. This veers a lot more into big, dumb action. And while the action is incredible, the story isn't really strong or interesting enough to back it up. That's why, at its core, I don't think this lives up to the high standards set by the other entries in the trilogy. And that's before we get into the racism or the Willie. But you know what? At the end of the day, I love Short Round, I love the action. It's pretty wholesome that the actress who played Willie ended up marrying Spielberg, so this wasn't a total loss for him. And the levels based on this movie and the Lego game were pretty fun. So I think Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom deserves a very slight pass. Give us a fucking Short Round movie now, you cowards. Or you could just let this franchise end. That might actually be preferable. Yeah, actually, just do that.